We often talk about learning as being a journey. At the start of that journey, it's important to know where you're going. You need a map. You need a destination. You need a target. How to give yourself SMART targets is covered in the target setting tutorial video. Once you've begun your journey, it's important to regularly evaluate how that journey is going. To do this, you'll need to work out how well you're currently performing and what your next steps should be. We call this skill reflecting. It's amazing just how many students complete activities designed to help them to learn without ever spending time reflecting on how they're actually doing, which is like playing an instrument without listening to the sound that you're making. Nuts! All good learners take time to pause and think about the activity. And they don't just do this when the task set has been finished. They are constantly reflecting as they do the activity. So reflection is a key part of the learning journey. Here are 10 terrific tips to help you develop good habits here. Tip 1. Check and review your work before declaring it finished. It's important to reflect on your work before you hand it in to your teacher. And don't wait until you've finished it before reflecting. Get into the habit of pausing and checking what you've done as you do it. For example, when writing a story, check it as you compose it. Read it through from the start each time you get to the end of a paragraph. That way, by the time you get to the final full stop, you will have reflected on it multiple times. Tip 2. Check you have accurately punctuated and spelt your work, whichever subject you are writing in. If you get frustrated that the only feedback you seem to get from your teachers is requests for you to improve your punctuation and spelling, then it's clear that you're not doing anything about it. Producing accurately punctuated and spelt work is something we should all aim to do, and in every subject. It's always important. Consistency is key. Get yourself into a positive habit. Whether you're writing on your whiteboard, texting on your phone, entering your name in forms, making notes in subjects, writing post-it notes, writing lists, or emailing your friends and teachers, take pride in punctuating and spelling your work accurately. Tip 3. Make sure your work includes everything listed in the success criteria. With some activities, like throwing a ball, it's immediately clear if you've been successful or not. As soon as you throw the ball, you can watch to see if it went where you wanted it to go. But for many learning tasks, knowing that you've been successful is less obvious. Take drawing a line graph. You might produce something that looks like a well-drawn line graph, but it might contain mistakes or lack important details. To help you identify what success looks like, good teachers provide you with success criteria for your learning activities. This is a list of outcomes that the tasks should include. Having a success criteria helps you to focus on what's important. This success criteria is often presented as a list of bullet points. It's also sometimes displayed in a table known as a rubric. Rubrics help to indicate the different levels of success you might have. Whichever way the success criteria is presented to you, make sure you use it to reflect on your work. It will enable you to identify what you've done well and what your areas of improvement need to be. Tip 4. Compare what you have produced to the exemplar you have been given. As well as providing you with success criteria, good teachers may also show you a good completed example for the task that you're about to do. They call this an exemplar. If it's a skill that you're required to perform, like a gymnastics performance, the exemplar might be shown in the form of a video. If it's a piece of artwork or a piece of writing, it could be something that the teacher has produced themselves, or a good example that a previous year's student has done. Seeing this exemplar helps communicate what success looks like. As you go about completing the task yourself, frequently compare your own performance with the example you have been given. Tip 5. Add a finishing touch to make your work extra special. Just like how a chef garnishes a dish before presenting it to the diner, get into the habit of adding a finishing touch to your work before showing it to your teacher. This can help make your work unique and different to the other students, but it also gives you the mindset that what you produce can always be improved. Tip 6. Read your teacher's comments carefully. Why do teachers mark your work? It's quite simple. They want to give you feedback. This marking feedback might be corrective, which points out that you've misunderstood something. In other words, you've done something wrong. Reinforcing, which confirms that you've done something right. Keep doing what you're doing. Next steps, which suggests what you now need to do to get better. So by sharing these comments with you, your teacher is helping you to reflect. Take advantage of their expertise and be sure you read carefully what they have written. Tip 7. If you don't understand your teacher's feedback, clarify it with them. With so many papers and books to mark, it's no surprise that some teachers' handwriting can be hard to read. If this is the case, ask them to read to you what they have written. It's also important to seek clarification when they have told you something or written something that you don't understand. For example, if they have asked you to use more adverb sentence starters in your writing and you don't know what an adverb is. When this happens, communicating with your teacher is key. They clearly feel that you are further along your learning journey than you actually are. Tip 8. Act upon the feedback you are given. Reading and understanding your teacher's feedback is important, but it means very little if you don't act on it. They have identified your next steps, but it's your responsibility to take those steps. If you find that your teacher is repeating the same comments all the time, then you're obviously not acting on their feedback. Tip 9. At the end of each lesson, ask yourself, what have I learnt, rather than what have I done? By focusing on what you have learnt rather than on what you have done, you are more likely to apply what you have learnt to a new situation. For example, if you have just written a paper about the pros and cons of zoos, you have learnt how to write a balanced discussion. You may not write a similar paper about zoos, but you will certainly write another balanced discussion about a different topic. So think about what you learnt, not about what you have done. Tip 10. At the end of each day, think of 4 things you did well and 1 thing you will work on. This daily reflection practice is a good thing to do when you're about to sleep. It will help you feel proud of what you have accomplished that day. Run through the fingers on one of your hands, thinking about all the positive things you did during that day. Your thumb is the 1 thing you will work on during the following day. So there you go. You now have 10 terrific tips to put into practice to help you be more reflective on your learning journeys.